It looks funny to me, the the change in Mark Zuckerberg haircut and all his outfit and appearance in general. It's not just about the appearance, but I think he truly wants to convey something, the idea that there is a change, not only in, in him, but in Meta as a whole, the whole company. Um, there are many changes recently, but with, there are some changes as well. Some other things that have changed are actually a continuation of the past. Let me elaborate on that. Um, I think somehow Mark, realized that it's time for him to fight, and he has decided he's trying to drag the fight, the war, into an open battlefield. That is very interesting because when someone wants to fight in an open battlefield, is because he thinks himself as the top dog instead of the underdog. The opposite alternative is choose guerrilla fight, which is when your resources are more limited, when you have soldiers, or less resources, or less advanced technology. Uh, you want to do a guerrilla fight, but he's definitely trying to drag things into an open battlefield. I like to think about this, for instance, with the open sourcing and the release of the weights themselves for the llama models, uh, for the generative AI side of this, of all of these changes. Um, and as I said before, maybe it's some something is a continuation and what Meta has done previously in the past. Because, for instance, Meta has, and previously Facebook, he had a long-standing, uh, strong commitment and high bet on AI and machine learning and artificial intelligence and all this. Many of the things that they have been done in a public way. Let's, for instance, think about uh, PyTorch, the machine learning framework. It looks like a stupid thing to give something for free. They have a top tool. Um, why releasing it? Why give them why give it for free? It sounds like, okay, you spend a lot of effort into that and you get nothing in return, but it's not the case, and it happens the same with machine learning models. I think, and probably they agree, and that's the reason why they're doing that. Is what they got from releasing as open source PyTorch was that they they get free developers basically. Um, a great community of top developers started changing and adding and contributing to this tool. Um, Probably what they have now is much better than the alternative option, where they have developed everything internally and keep it all for them closely. Um, and you do that when you say, okay, I can I can get from this more than my competitors. Um, with the releasing of llama models, I think there the line of thought should be somewhere in that direction. Uh, ChatGPT, OpenAI is probably the leading the leading company, the leading model, and how can you beat them? You think you have some advantage? You want an open fight, and I think that's what they're doing. Uh, in fact, the frameworks that they use for Llama, they're open source frameworks. They're getting a lot of traction, and a lot of developers will be behind that and will integrate into their flow. Will get integration with many other tools. Many companies will jump into this wagon more easily than for the close alternative of of a company which is called OpenAI, which is it's funny itself. And I think they will get a lot of benefits from that. Mm, th- this openness is not, as I say, is probably it's not new, but it's uh, they're like they're like somehow doubling down into that. But it happens at some other points. Well, one could think about that in terms of content moderation, which is just an euphemism for censoring. And censoring is not always about government propaganda, because well, it's not about complying with uh, government propaganda itself, but you want a certain discussion to be promoted into your social network. If you were thinking about that, um, you know, you need to moderate content, not just censor, uh, because if you are if you're relying on advertisement, um, you want to have a certain positivity, certain feeling that okay, things uh, you want to amplify good things, you want to downsample things that will feel you uh, less prone to buy things. You know? And it's been we can justify that Facebook and Meta had been censoring content uh, farther than performing content moderation for marketing purposes. Um, and there is a certain there is a recent letter by Mark Zuckerberg, which I think addresses to Congress, uh, and somehow is recognizing that they enforce a particular view, uh, specifically uh, related to pandemics and vaccination with COVID and all of these things, uh, which um, they they somehow from Meta and from Facebook they regret to have um, adopted an approach and promoted certain views about the pandemic, which they were not fully convinced at the time, and more recently had been uh, demonstrated that they were not accurate. Uh, and somehow trying to do a public confession that they maybe were too strong in content moderation. And there's definitely a change, or at least the intention of being seen differently. They did some other things that could relate to that, like, for instance, opening threads, which is the carbon copy of X, of the former Twitter. Uh, they wanted to track some other uh, this kind of content that we can see in X, which is definitely different from what we can see in Facebook and Instagram, uh, which is more like for maybe the more dominant conversation is what latte did you choose, just for making fun, but it's like more casual content. Um, X is a different kind of content. It's not as wide or as numerous. It's not as casual, definitely. It's more related to, it's more like elite content, I would say, for more like elite consumers. Um, the conversation that we have in Twitter is CEOs of companies, researchers in the field of artificial intelligence. That that has a better place in Twitter, in a social network like Twitter, than, for instance, in one more focused on sharing uh, cool photographs, or cool pictures, or maybe more about engaging uh, uh, and viral videos like TikTok, for instance. Definitely a different network. Um, and I'd say that there's this letter to the Congress, this try to move into this other type of content, like uh, X with threads, which, by the way, I listened about that for the week of the launch, and I'd say I have never tried it and never listened to anything else before, so I think it didn't gain traction probably. And there's a third thing which is strange as well and new for Meta, Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg, which is the comments that he made about the Trump assassination attempt, the first one, I mean. Uh, and he's saying about the photograph taken with the American flag behind and Trump raising the fist, uh, the face covered in blood, shouting "fight." Uh, uh, he commenting about that as the most badass thing that he ever remembered, and that, I couldn't imagine that happening 2 years before, and that's because um, probably this company and many others in uh, tech, top tech companies, especially in the Bay Area from San Francisco and California, they they have uh, probably a lot of the people working there. Um, they're lean towards the democratic side. Um, uh, I well, I think it's obvious that they are so. Uh, you can discuss about how open they are about that, or how blatant things could be, but you ask the majority of them about their political leaning, they probably they were not very comfortable with right wing politics with Trump. As, I think we can agree on that. So this is new. So why this could be happening, and especially why now? Because when something changes, the important thing, uh, when we ask about the reason for anything, we can justify it many ways, but sometimes what is more revealing is not why, but what, but why now? And I think well, Facebook is a crystal ball. It's a very good insight into society, into the public discourse, and maybe they are very good at seeing what is the general feeling about the society. I'm in maybe not only about the elections that are coming in November for the United States, the presidential elections. Uh, that could be just a manifestation. We have if there is a change in the office, and Trump gets elected, uh, it's not just that. If that happens, it's definitely an expression of a different uh, a different attitude in the public discourse, in the in the people. And maybe I'd say that he's somehow foreseeing that, and betting on that, and that change, and trying to get from a game theory perspective. It will be something like trying to get some first mover advantage into that. And that's my interpretation of these very curious changes. Um, as well, I think maybe uh, we have seen that there is strong uh, the, some of the regulatory agencies, especially in the United States, but as well in Europe. um, we are seeing that they're trying to exert a greater degree of pressure into tech companies. Um, and I think it will be beneficial to him, or Mark Zuckerberg intends to gain advantage that in that possible case by taking the public on its side, but siding with the public in order to the public not to accept too much pressure above a certain threshold, because they can sympathize with Mark Zuckerberg and what he is making with the companies. I think maybe he's trying to get some public support by acknowledge and taking this new attitude, and we can say he is doing a confession and accepting that what it's many people say it's obvious that they were enforcing a particular side of the truth, and reverting that could sympathize more with the general public, and that could uh, alleviate some of the pressure that the regulatory agencies may exert over him and its companies. Um, that those are some of the interesting things that I have seen, and as well about the why now. I could think about this, that maybe this this attitude that Mark is exposing recently, mm, maybe it's not about a change in his way of thinking, uh, but maybe he feels internally stronger now. Uh, because now I'm lucubrating, and I have not very not insight at all about what is happening inside the company, but from outside, I could interpret that maybe he's stronger now, and maybe because I think about him not as um, he's definitely a disruptor. He has this hacker mentality, uh, which pushes him to be more sympathetic to meritocracy in favor of equality of outcome. So it's hard to me to think about him as of left leaning, uh, because he himself it's a top disruptor. He's a top performer. Um, who else wouldn't like to go for meritocracy instead of equality of outcome? Uh, but because he's in an environment where the rest of the people uh, are generally in that way of thinking. And so I'm interpreting that that could be the case, that now feels stronger, and he has always been like this, and he always wanted to share a picture of him surfing with a beer in the hand and the American flag behind, which is it's hilarious, and maybe it's not the mood that there is in the rest of the company for some years now. And yeah, it's very interesting to me, very curious, to track these things and try to figure out what is happening behind the scenes, because I definitely have no insider view about these things. But it's like trying to force uh, uh, force a door without the key from the inside, by trying to listen and trying to force a door, uh, trying to think what is inside and try to crack it open. Um, and yeah, by the way, very obviously very happy to see the llama models performing and gaining traction and being released up publicly. Not only the code, not only the papers, they were very detailed papers, by the way, about how they develop these models, but the weights themselves, which it's okay. It's it's a lot of compute behind. It's the work of a lot of people behind that, and they are confident enough to say that, okay, the more people are in this fight, the more likely they are going to take advantage of that, because they feel strong. They feel that they have leverage for that. Especially now that probably OpenAI and maybe Anthropic as well has some um, scarcity of talent, uh, not because they not have any inside, but for scaling the companies farther beyond. And there is maybe a scarcity of talent, and maybe uh, Llama models gaining a lot of support in the open source community. Uh, Many developers and many top researchers pivot into that in order to have a more a more profound impact in the machine learning research the and the, and the advancements of these models. Um, yeah, definitely happy to about that. Yeah, we'll see what happens next, but keeps very interesting indeed. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share about this, and just some thoughts.